there's a huge lobby which benefits financially by promoting these vaccines. We don't want to make our children guinea pigs.
It can at best be called as toxic chemical cocktail, but never a vaccine.
Mandating vaccination of young girls with the vaccines is a gross social injustice and a crime against humanity.
कब तक लोगों के साथ इतनी बेरहमी से उनकी हेल्थ के साथ खिलवाड़ करोगे? बस करो ये वैक्सीनेशन का धंधा।
After HPV infection, for a cancer to develop, it takes about 20 years. No studies have been done on the vaccines for this long period of time. The maximum studies have been done for 6 years, and one study has gone on for 9 years. So there is no real study done which can prove effectiveness of this vaccine.
It is a complete lie. Not a single case of cervical cancer is shown to be prevented by HPV vaccine, but it is advertised from all the platforms as cervical cancer prevention vaccine. Manufacturers should be booked under the Drugs and Magic Remedies Act of 1954.
Gardasil vaccine, which was, it was halted. The vaccination campaign was halted in Japan for nearly 5 to 6 years. And later it was thought again to reintroduce. But we need to see that why at first it was halted. It was because of the adverse effects that were being shown by Gardasil. And on the same line, actually, the Serum Institute is onto its way to produce its vaccine, that is Cervavac. Being a homeopath, we very much believe, that vaccination is like you are injecting a virus or the disease element into a healthy human being who is already healthy. So the chances of even you getting prevented by certain strain of HPV is not nullified. You can, even after you get vaccinated or even after you screen yourself, there are chances that you may still get cervical cancer.
HPV vaccine, whether it is Cervarix or Gardasil, comes with its own side effects. The simpler side effects like vomiting, nausea, body aches, headaches, but there are also deeper side effects like cardiomyopathy, Guillain-Barré syndrome, and arthritis and neurological problems. All of this need to be shared with the patient before they are giving the vaccine.
These products are known to cause excess deaths, blood clots, paralysis, heart attacks, premature menopause, epilepsy, and so on. Manufacturers should be booked under IPC 302 for manslaughter or murder and IPC 326 for causing grievous injury. In fact, they should not have allowed such a death-causing product to have come to the market. This product is sold as vaccine, and that is altogether misleading. It has a very small proportion of actual vaccine matter and a large proportion of toxic preservatives, adjuvants, stabilizers, and other byproducts.
Side effects are plenty, including autoimmune diseases, neurological conditions, irreversible serious problems, and including death. Why would one want to take on the possibility of these kind of side effects for a condition which does not warrant this kind of requirement of a vaccine?
This is again a ploy of the global elites to control the masses rather than being a measure for the health and wellness of our women. The dangerous side effects of the vaccine also pose a major threat to the life and wellness of our girl children and women. One of the underlying agendas of the vaccine is to cause infertility in these young girls and women. In studying the literature available on the HPV vaccine, it is evident that it is being pushed on the people for the profits it garners for the pharma companies rather than the well-being of our women.
There have been a number of lawsuits against this Gardasil vaccine or HPV vaccine are going on in the United States. So there have been some adverse events reported and the benefit is uncertain. So,
जब से ये वैक्सीन रोल आउट हुई है, मेरे सामने 3 से 4 केसेस ऑलरेडी आ चुके हैं इन वन केस जहाँ पे आफ्टर डिलीवरी जब फीमेल को वैक्सीन दिया गया तो शी इज हैविंग ग्रेट कॉम्प्लिकेशन इन like having milk feeding her child because lactation नहीं हो रहा है, milk production नहीं हो रहा है. अभी who's going to blame? Who's going to be blamed for this? Secondly देखा गया है in one of my patient जो pregnancy plan कर रहे थे, गायनेक ने उनको HPV वैक्सीन देने बोला तो उनको एक्टोपिक प्रेगनेंसी रह गई. एक्टोपिक प्रेगनेंसी यानी प्रेगनेंसी जो गर्भ है उसमें ना रह के बाजू में जो ट्यूब्स है उसमें प्रेगनेंसी आ गई. सो शी हैड टू अबॉर्ट द बेबी. नाउ शी वाज परफेक्टली वेल बिफोर वैक्सीनेशन. आफ्टर वैक्सीनेशन लेने के बाद जब प्रेगनेंसी प्लान कर रहे हैं तो उनको एक्टोपिक प्रेगनेंसी आ रही है.
आप अपाहिज हो सकते हो, आपका बांझपन आ सकता है और भी कई मुसीबतें आ सकती है. ऐसा वैक्सीन 9 से 13 साल के बच्चियों को देना यह ठीक नहीं है.
The HPV virus infection are of multiple types and most of them, over 90%, are cleared by the body's immune system within 2 years. If one follows safe, healthy sexual practices, getting HPV infection is virtually impossible. In this kind of scenario, is the HPV vaccine really required? What are the safety features? How long have the studies been done?
The factors leading to cervical cancer are more socio-economic in nature, which needs to be taken care of to truly prevent cervical cancer. The factors like women of a low-income group, malnutrition, poor hygiene, oral contraceptives, multiple sexual partners, early marriage are factors that contribute to the incidence of cervical cancer. A vaccine that has not been proved conclusively to prevent cervical cancer is not the answer in caring for the women who develop cervical cancer following infection with the papillomavirus. The infection itself, when it occurs, is self-limiting and easily curable. It may lead to cervical cancer in a few vulnerable women.
Vaccines are supposed to prevent the human papillomavirus. Human papillomavirus can occur in anybody, but the risk of it developing into cervical cancer is not so much. So why do we put our children, our females, our women at risk of developing such huge problems, neurological problems, heart problems for a minor risk? And this minor risk can also be rectified by taking care of the other factors like hygiene, nourishment, nutrition, which can be worked upon and can be prevented.
US, mostly, I think the average age of being detected by this virus or getting disease affected, that is being cervical cancer, is around 50 years. And 20% and less, are diagnosed above age 65 also. So if you see the statistics and overall probability, the preteen, or you say the age group which is going to be considered as 19 to 14 or say 15 to 20, this age group doesn't fit this scenario at all.
There is incomplete evidence for efficacy of HPV against the endpoint of cervical cancer because these lesions, these HPV virus caused lesions, which are just like warts in the genital area or in the perianal area, they are like warts which most of the time are self-limiting and may not progress to cancer. And the early precancerous, the vaccine has been found to prevent the early precancerous lesions, which is termed as C1N1 lesions, which mostly do not progress to cancer.
कैंसर भी सबको नहीं होता. वायरस, सिर्फ वायरस लगने से कैंसर नहीं होता. उसके साथ अगर आपको बहुत बच्चे हुए हों या तो एक से ज़्यादा लोगों के साथ शारीरिक संबंध बिना किसी सावधानी से हो रहा हो, स्मोकिंग कर रहे हैं या तो ठीक से स्वच्छता नहीं रख रहे हो, इन सब चीज़ों से कैंसर होता है.
हमारे शरीर की प्रतिकार शक्ति को बनाए रखें, और उसको बनाए रखने के लिए कईयों तरीके हैं हमारे देश में। उन तरीकों को, चाहे वो आयुर्वेद का हो, चाहे से योगा से हो, प्राकृतिक चिकित्सा से हो, या फिर होम्योपैथी का हो, या यूनानी हो, सिद्धा हो, मिनरल थेरेपी हो, सभी प्रकार के जो थेरेपीज हैं उसमें हमारे शरीर की प्रतिकार शक्ति को बढ़ाया जा सकता है, रखा जा सकता है। हमारे शरीर में अपने आप को, स्वयं को ठीक करने की क्षमता ईश्वर ने दी है। इस शक्ति को बनाए रखना ही हमारे लिए वैक्सीनेशन है।
Cancer screening has to continue, and there have been studies which shows that if cancer screening is in place for women above 40 years or 35 years, yearly cancer screening with pap smear, vaccine does not give any extra protection. There is no evidence to say that vaccine will give some extra protection against cervical cancer.
Now, screening, why I'm saying is better, because the early detection can take place of the virus, of HPV virus, and also one thing is important to be noted, that actually this cervical cancer is quite curable as well as treatable, even if detected in first or second later stages. Some researchers have even went ahead to state that because of too much of screening, what is happening is we tend to overdiagnose it. Because of overdiagnosing, there is a large probability of showing that so many people have been affected because of the screening, because there is chances of false positives also.
We have got incomplete evidence whether vaccinating in childhood would prevent cancer later in after 45, 50 years. There have been no studies so far, because this vaccine, Gardasil vaccine, was licensed in 2006, and there were trials were in elderly women, not in teenage girls, and it was extrapolated to the teenage girls that it may protect the papillomavirus infection. Unfortunately, there have been some unfortunate experience in India of the trials in pre-adolescent girls in 2009. Gates ICMR, in collaboration with Gates Foundation and PATH, undertook a trial of HPV vaccine in Andhra Pradesh and Gujarat, and there were some deaths during the trial in young girls, and there was a lot of hue and cry by the local population. ICMR and the other sponsors the trial tried to suppress the unfortunate adverse events, saying that it was due to coincidental rather, and not due to the vaccine, but because of the public outcry. And there was a joint parliamentary committee meeting, parliamentary committee report on it was investigated by a parliamentary committee on health and family welfare, and it implicated the sponsors of violating certain ethical principles. And in 2013, it tabled the report in both houses of parliament, saying that this should be investigated by a special investigating agency. That was in 2013. In almost a decade is there had been no special investigation.
May 29th, 2023, a subject expert committee that we call SEC, who advises usually the Drug Control Group of India, has asked Serum Institute to provide the revised clinical trial protocol and then further it will be considered. Now, when this happened, when Serum Institute actually submitted their proposal for grant of permission to be conducted on the 4th clinical trial. So this is quite strange that a company is giving a proposal for 4th clinical trial wherein the 3rd clinical trial itself has some doubts.
they have started giving the same vaccine to children, to females who are below the consent age group. So their parents need to be told about the risks and benefits before giving these vaccines.
I had an autoimmune disease after taking rabies vaccine, and I've always known that vaccinations can cause side effects. But we've seen a huge number of side effects after the COVID vaccine. Some people's blood sugars have shot up, some people's blood pressure has shot up, some people's kidney disease has increased, and autoimmune diseases have been more common after this. So here's what I would suggest. Instead of following the herd and just doing what everyone's doing, think about it, read up the pros and cons of vaccinations in general, the pros and cons of cervical cancer vaccine, and make an informed decision.
Today also, if one goes on the website has not provided any information on HPV as such. Like, what are the trials done, or what is the composition of the HPV vaccine, or the FAQs that comes along with it. So nothing is there on Serum Institute official website. Only the name appears just as a product lineup, which is Cervavac. Now it has already been launched. So, with this very much incomplete public information, it is very highly objectionable to question, its implementation of this HPV vaccine.
A peer-reviewed paper published in one of the leading journals. Anybody who wants to advocate this vaccine for the child who is not of an age to give informed consent, the parents, all parents who intend to give this vaccine for the child, so read the paper. I will just read out the title of the paper. Will HPV vaccine prevent cervical cancer? This is the title of the paper. Will HPV vaccine prevent cervical cancer? This has been published in Journal of Royal Society of Medicine, 21st January 2020 by Clara P. Rees. Author surname is R-E-E-S, Rees et al. Volume 113, issue number 2. So this very clearly, it brings out, this paper has been published without any pharmaceutical sponsors, without any conflict of interest.
As per the Supreme Court of India, no one can be forced for vaccination. It is a violation of the right to life, Article 21 of the Constitution of India. As per the Delhi High Court judgment, informed consent of parents is a must. Informed consent means parents have to be told about the death-causing side effects of the vaccine.